Welcome back to Cal Lutheran's student news publication, The Echo. This is our bi-weekly podcast, and this is Caroline Asen, the editor-in-chief, speaking. Joining us again on the podcast is Olivia, who spoke with Disability Support Services about etiquette when interacting with service animals. She also spoke with a service dog owner who talked about their experiences on campus and advice for other service animal owners. According to the handout you were sent by DSS, what does it say about the proper etiquette for service dog team interaction?
In the DSS service dog interaction handout, proper service dog interaction etiquette is to not pet the service dog, not speak to the service dog, or try to catch the attention of a service dog. When they are working, and if you want to pet the service dog, you need to ask the service dog handler. You can't feed the service dog either, just in case they have specific dietary requirements, and you should not deliberately startle a service dog, as well as try to attempt to separate a partner from their service dog.
How does DSS support students with service animals?
According to Director of DSS Wendy Jimenez, DSS supports students using service animals by working with residents' lives, so they coordinate housing and make sure that the students' roommates or suite mates are okay with living with an animal. They also notify professors and places on campus that students will be using their service dogs in classrooms or Starbucks, Ullman to go, etc. There are also signs around campus acknowledging service dogs and letting other people know that the areas are service dog friendly.
You spoke to first-year Christian Nelson for your article. How has this experience been on campus with a service animal?
So when I had spoken to first-year Christian Nelson, who is also a type 1 diabetic and uses a service dog, his experience was pretty positive overall on Cal Lutheran's campus. He said he hasn't really ran into any negative experiences, and if so, those are just his pet peeves, which I will explain later. He said everyone is really kind to him and understanding and wants to learn more, especially about his type 1 diabetes and about his service dog and proper ways to interact with his service dog, especially in and out of the classroom.
What are Nelson's pet peeves as a service dog owner?
Nelson doesn't have too many pet peeves when it comes to interacting with service dogs, but he does dislike it when passerbyers don't acknowledge the ask me to pet sign on his service dog, and it becomes very hard when people just go up and pet him and kind of startle him.
What is his advice for other service dog owners?
Nelson's advice for service dog owners is just to be patient with others who may not know much about service dogs, and to help educate and have others understand what it means to interact with service dogs. Nelson's advice is also just voicing your opinion and voicing your feelings and emotions if someone is bothering you or bothering your service dog as well.
Is there anything else listeners should know?
Listeners should know that sometimes disabilities can go unseen and they could be invisible to the naked eye, especially diseases such as type 1 diabetes. So whenever you see a service dog being used by someone, don't just assume things and just know that they're fighting their own battle and they use that service dog as a tool and as a friend to help them navigate and live life, basically. Listeners should also know that if they have any questions or concerns regarding service dog interaction etiquette or further education on service dogs, they can feel free to contact Disability Support Services at dss@callutheran.edu or call their number at 805-493-3464.
Also joining us on the podcast is Marcel, another Echo reporter, who has come to discuss the outdoor classroom tents. When were the outdoor classroom tents introduced and why?
So the tents were introduced according to the Registrar Services in fall of 2021, and obviously they were made so that people could be outside without masks during COVID. And currently there's 4 tents. There's 2 at the Swenson Center for Social and Behavioral Studies for Sciences, and then Swenson Science Center tent, and then an Amundsen Science Center tent.
How many classrooms are being held in the outdoor classroom tents? Are there plans to keep them up indefinitely?
They said that they're averaging around 20 classes per semester over all of those tents. I don't know if there's any definitive plan on whether or not they're going to be up indefinitely.
What are some of the reasons for why professors are using these outdoor classrooms?
It sounds like some people, like Professor Knack and Professor Marshall, really want those tents to stay up because they really like them. They like them mostly because kind of a mixture of they just like being outside in nature, being on this beautiful campus, and then also so that students who are immunocompromised or know someone that's immunocompromised don't have to wear a mask inside or to have as much fear surrounding being in class.
How do some students and professors feel about these outdoor classroom tents?
I don't think this extends to professors since they're the ones choosing to hold their classes outside. But I know the one student I talked to said that the second semester, once the weather got really cold, it just began to be distracting. And then, obviously people walking outside, walking in between classes. There's just a lot of distractions outside.
What are some of the issues those using these outdoor classrooms have faced, and what have they done to try to combat these issues?
I've heard there's a lot of technical difficulties. One of those technical difficulties is actually surrounding the heaters. Apparently they just don't work very often, and that's obviously an issue once classes get cold, like down to low 50s, like in the morning. The heaters was one of the big things that having those working would be a big thing.
Is there anything else listeners should know?
There's not really any definitive plans whether or not these are being kept up, but it does sound like there's a good amount of professors who quite like it, so hopefully it'll be enough to push for improvements.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. Look out for another podcast from us soon.